South Africa's history is objectively fascinating, but here at the Dan Corder Show, we are sad that so many wild and interesting parts of our country's history are just not known by many people. You know, we believe that learning more about the full richness of our country's history is how we better understand ourselves and grow our love for and appreciation of South Africa and its people. So, we're going to put 180 seconds on the clock because I know that you're scrolling TikTok right now as you watch this TV show, and I need to keep your attention. We're going to put 180 seconds on the clock, and that's all the time I have to tell you about some fascinating South African history that more people should know about. History has a lot of lovers united through crime, like Bonnie and Clyde, Thabo Bester and Nandipa, Paras and your phones, the ANC and a tender, but before all of them, there were William and Peggy Foster. Here's the story of South Africa's most notorious criminal gang and their frankly tragic demise on fascinating South African history in under 3 minutes. And the audience is going to keep me to time. I have exactly 3 minutes. Audience, are you ready? Yes. All right. Start the clock. William Foster was born in East Griqualand in now KwaZulu-Natal in 1886, and life didn't start out great for the guy. He spent many years seeking his fortune on the mines and then what is now Namibia and then in England, but kept getting into trouble and kept spending time in jail. But then Willie met Peggy, a chorus girl who clearly had a taste for the bad boys. Peggy and Willie decided to get married, but Willie wouldn't do it until he had enough money to provide Peggy a good life. So one day, Willie and his friend Fred went to the circus because the internet hadn't been invented yet. And at the circus, they met an American guy called Jack. Jack's shtick at the circus was to do cowboy stuff like sharpshooting. He was basically a clown with a special area. William and Adam started hanging out with their new friend Jack, and Jack taught them some of his circus skills, including sharpshooting, trick riding on a motorbike, disguise, and makeup. And they used all of this to rob a jewelry store. And I have to tell you, crime back in 1913, before CCTV cameras or DNA, was wild. All they did was put on fake mustaches and marched into the jewelry store. They walked out 10 minutes later with 308 diamonds, Krugerrands, watches, and cash. But they were caught and sentenced to 12 years in jail. And just before they were sentenced, Peggy and her beloved Willie got married and spent 1 hour in a hotel room on honeymoon. But after 9 months, they organized a prison break and got out. And around the same time, Peggy gave birth to her and Willie's child, a little girl named Phyllis. So now William really needed money. He had school fees to pay. And even back then, Rodin Senior School existed. And even back then, it was stunningly unaffordable. So he got the gang back together and they absolutely went to town. They robbed the Roodepoort post office on the West Rand. Then they robbed the Vredendorp post office. Then they robbed the National Bank in Boksburg on the East Rand. The police put up roadblocks to try and catch them and offered a reward or information leading to the gang's arrest. So the gang hid in a cave in Kensington and waited for the situation to cool down. They then moved into an abandoned cottage in Regent's Park with Peggy and the foster baby Phyllis. They planned to collect a lot of money, then drive to Mozambique on to Europe. And they robbed a cycle store in the Joburg CBD, then a liquor depot in Jeppiestown, then a liquor store in Bertram's, then a liquor store in Fairview. But then a neighbor who lived by the cottage in Regent's Park recognized them from the newspapers and alerted the police. 4 cops went to the house. There was a shootout and the gang escaped. Roadblocks were set up to catch them, and the iconic Boer General Koos de la Rey ran one of the roadblocks and was killed, which seriously weakened a plan to overthrow the South African government. In the meantime, the Foster gang returned to the cave in Kensington. The police surrounded them and at the entrance, trapping the 3 gangsters inside. They decided they would not be taken alive, so one of them died. But William Foster demanded that the police bring them his wife, Peggy, and their baby. So they brought Peggy and the baby to see William. He told the cops he would come out if they brought him Peggy and the baby, so they did. And the Foster's parents and 2 sisters. They went into the cave. After an hour, Foster's family came out. Then 3 shots rang out from the cave. William and Peggy had decided to die together. And now you're thinking, what about their baby? Was the 3rd shot for baby Phyllis? No, little Phyllis was taken out of the cave by Foster's family. That 3rd shot was when the last gang member turned the gun on himself. And that was the tragic end of the Foster gang. What was the time? 3:01. Nah, it wasn't 3:01. I made it. You guys, it's South African time. It's December, guys. Whew, you know, you can still go to that cave in Kensington where it's crazy. Okay,